has been added to the universe of Sarawak, Bintulu Port. Thrust into the spotlight over the past year, what does the future hold for this LNG powerhouse?
When I came in, I thought the port industry is a very boring business. But how wrong was I? Today, Bintulu Port handle about 50 million ton of cargo a year. That is the third largest in Malaysia.
Find out how Bintulu Port is forging ahead, only on Decimal Point. The takeover of Bintulu Port from federal control to Sarawak in 2025 has been closely watched. But why is this significant? It marks a major shift in Sarawak's economic direction, helping the state move beyond reliance on natural resources. Join me with the president of Bintulu Port as we explore its new horizon. So first of all, I'd like to explore a bit about your background, your professional background before helming Bintulu Port Holdings Berhad. Can you give us a bit of insight?
Yeah, I started working with Petronas in 1990, and I'm a 32 years veteran in Petronas. I started off in Miri, Sarawak, and I went overseas to Sudan for 3 years, and then back to Malaysia, and then went off to Iraq for another 3 years. So it's a combination of Dubai and Iraq just after the war, and come back to Malaysia, and been serving at all the four corners of Malaysia. I was in Sabah, I was in Kerteh in Peninsular Malaysia, as well as in Miri and also in Kuala Lumpur Twin Tower. My last international posting was in Turkmenistan. I was the so-called group CEO of Petronas Carigali Turkmenistan Berhad, and I came back and I became the head of Sarawak operation. So what was interesting was that I started off in Sarawak operation in 1990, and 30 years later I came back as the head of Sarawak operation. So when I was in Sarawak, I produced half of what MLNG would take in. That's about 2-point-something trillion scuff per day. So now I'm in the port. I'm 3 years novice in the port, just over 3 years. But as a group CEO, it's only about 2 years, 10 months. I came in as the group CEO designate for 6 months before I assumed the group CEO. So sometimes I wonder why did they take me as group CEO of the port when I had no direct relation or no direct experience of the port. But I assume that because I was involved in delivering 50% of what MLNG would take in, and where they compress it down to become, or liquefied it to become LNG. But when I'm in the port, I exported 100% of MLNG. So I was from the other end, delivering gas to MLNG. Now I'm on the other side, delivering to the customer in liquefied form. So I assume that's the reason why I'm in the port.
How do you think the role you had in Petronas prepared you for your current position in Bintulu Port?
Well, it's about leadership. To me, it's about leadership. When you come in and look at things from a different perspective, I have full respect for the people that I have in the port. There are about 1,500 of them, and they are all very capable in their own areas. But sometimes, we are all human beings. When you are too long in one position, and you tend to be stuck at a certain way of doing things. So leadership would come in and say, well, I've seen that before. I've seen how others are doing it. I've seen certain things that are done in other countries. And maybe if we adopt that in the port, we would be able to do better. So normally, I would want to see how we can explore doing new things. We call it new way of working.
Bintulu Port has recently been thrust into the limelight nationally. So can you give us a bit of a walk down history in terms of where Bintulu Port started out and how it's doing today in 2025?
Well, Bintulu Port is actually very interesting. When I came in, I thought the port industry is a very boring business. But how wrong was I? I tell you why. Bintulu Port started in 1983, perhaps entrusted to export only one single product at a time, which is LNG. When MLNG plant was developed in Bintulu, because of the abundance of gas from offshore, we do not know what to do with it. So therefore, one way to export it is you need to liquefy it. So you liquefy it to about 160 degrees C, minus 160 degrees C, make it into liquid, export into a tanker, and bring it out to overseas like Japan, Taiwan, China. Bintulu Port started as that. Today, after 42 years or so, Bintulu Port, if I may, at the risk of sounding boastful, Bintulu Port is the only fully integrated port in Malaysia. Starting from offering LNG export, all the way to dry bulk, break bulk, supply base, containerized, oil palm, you name it, and everything in between. So also, as the entry point for Ro-Ro vehicle into Sarawak, especially with the completion of the Pen-Bonny Highway today, as well as refined product, exporting the urea and ammonia, recently exporting the petchem, and of course we imported a lot of fertilizers and as well as rice. So you have not seen, or you will not see, any other port in Malaysia that provide the range of services that is offered by Bintulu Port. Today, Bintulu Port handle about 50 million ton of cargo a year. That is the third largest in Malaysia, just behind Port Klang and PTP. They're mostly container port. They're focused on container, like 80%, 90% of business are container. But for Bintulu Port, we have a diverse range that includes as well the crude palm oil. Today, we're exporting about 4 million ton of crude palm oil from our biport bulkers in Bintulu. That is about 95% of all the palm oil export from Sarawak, which equates to about 25% of all the crude palm oil exported in Malaysia. So that's only from one perspective. The second perspective is, of course, LNG. We are the biggest in East Asia. There's no other port that handles that. And on top of that, we also manage petchem, which has just started operation. We exported methanol. We imported a lot of fertilizer for the domestic use. We also, as our sister port in Samalaju, we imported a lot of magnesium, manganese, coke, alumina to support the Samalaju Industrial Park. That is a significant amount of export from Sarawak. 60% of all the gas produced in Malaysia comes from offshore Bintulu.
Bintulu Port isn't just any port. It's one of the world's top 5 LNG export hubs and the largest LNG terminal in East Asia. That's why it's a national strategic asset, a critical energy infrastructure. people realize that it's among the top 5 export hubs for LNG in the world. Based on this, tell us more about the importance of the LNG business to the overall Bintulu port.
As I mentioned earlier on, we started to export, or we started to help MLNG exported their liquefied natural gas 42 years ago. So their first export was on the 29th of January 1983, if I'm not mistaken. On yearly basis, we manage about 25 to 27 million ton of LNG export. That is a significant amount of export from Sarawak because 60% of all the gas produced in Malaysia comes from offshore Bintulu. Moving forward, if this can be sustained, that would be well and good. But I think ultimately, moving forward, some of this gas will have to be used for internal consumption in order to develop the downstream industry in Sarawak that will utilize gas as its natural feedstock. I think Sarawak has taken steps now, starting with the operation of methanol plant, and I'm sure they'll be looking at increasing the urea as well as the fertilizer plant in future. So that is the significance of Malaysia liquefied natural gas to not only the world, but moving forward will hopefully spur the development within Sarawak.
Okay, so how can port operations be more efficient, and what are the potential challenges that may arise from this?
I look at it from 4 perspectives. The first one would be, how good is our infrastructure? Is it enough to accommodate the demand that we have today? Is it enough that for the demand of the future? That's we need to look at infrastructure. Second is, do we have the right equipment? The equipment that we have today are mostly old, about 20, 25 years old, but we need to look at how do we refleet them? What sort of equipment do we want in future? Do you want to embrace digital? Do you want to go for automation fully, or do you want to go for semi? Do you want to go for a hybrid? Do you want to go for EV, for instance? But having the right choice of equipment is critical. The third one is process. In my mind, if you have infrastructure, you have the equipment, but you do not have the right processes, you do not have the right system, we will not be able to make it. And of course, the fourth one is very critical. It's the human capital. It's the talent that we have. All of this must work hand in hand. We must be able to come up with a right formula, balance the need of all these 4 in order to come up with a good port in future.
But at this point in time, safety and environmental stewardships are key cornerstones that Bintulu Port also looks out for.
Safety is non-negotiable. I say this with utmost sincerity and respect. To me, everybody must come to work safe, but most importantly, everybody must go home safely. And nobody should get hurt in the office or at work. So with that in mind, very personal touch. We talk to the people, we go down to see them, we ask them how many children they have. We even want to understand, do they have pets at home that they love? Because we want to make sure that they will go to their children and they will go to their family at the end of the day. So we normally look at that from the human perspective. So if you have a very close interaction with your people, you would want to put in a lot of proactive measure, no matter how much it costs, in order to make sure that the working environment that we expose our people to on a daily basis would not hurt them.
So you've talked about developing port infrastructure and also maritime logistics. Walk us through how they would benefit the businesses that you have there at Bintulu Port.
I give an example of our multi-purpose terminal. We have 6 berths, but we have a couple of ships that have to wait offshore at anchor. So we don't like that. We want people to come berth on arrival. Then therefore we have to have the right equipment to make sure we will be efficient in loading and unloading. So whether we like it or not, we have to expand our port. So we're looking at expanding our port for our multi-purpose terminal. We are also looking at expanding our supply base terminal. We have just recently been awarded the license to operate the supply base. We call it Borneo Oil and Gas Supply Base in Berhad. Port operation is a male-dominated operation, but we like to defer and look at whether we can bring in women, and to our surprise, we had a lot of application.
Bintulu Port is gearing up for a bold new chapter in Sarawak's economy. But what innovations will drive this giant forward? Fresh mindsets and the next generation of talents hold the key.
Digital transformation, we are going big on it, especially in the last 2-3 years. We have started with upgrading our port operating system. We used to do everything manually, but now we are going to employ and we're going to adopt digital. I'll give one example. It can be as simple as our staff coming to work. We used to have a thumbprint for the attendance. Today we use face recognition. We have implemented or is implementing now the auto gate system, and also a few other initiatives that we're doing. One particular thing that I'm very proud of is on what we call Book Ajak. It's equivalent to the Grab, but it's Book Ajak meant to be used in the port. It's developed by our young engineer, young software engineer, IT specialists who major in digital. They created the apps for us to use in the port. So I can see for the last 2-3 years, we are going very excited about the digital journey. The port operating system will enable our processes, our operation to be digitalized, and at the end of the day, it's all about operation efficiency. Another example that I want to give is the system that we have for visitors. At one time, it will take you maybe half a day from the time you apply at our gate and the time you are allowed to come into our port, because there are like 13 to 15 steps that you have to take in order to come into our port. Today, it will probably take you only one step and perhaps only 2 minutes.
As the president of Bintulu Port, how do you see innovation paving the way and playing a role in future-proofing the business and ensuring long-term competitiveness? Maybe you can share with us some of the key innovations that Bintulu Port has done.
Innovation is one of the 4 corporate values that we have. We have teamwork, we have innovation, integrity, as well as professionalism. There's a few innovation initiatives that we have undertaken. One we are very particularly proud of is the deployment of nested drone in our operation. We have replaced 3 patrol boats because of the introduction of nested drone in our operation. It is able to cover the whole of our 12-kilometer water anchorage area, as well as the whole of the 466 hectares that we have, by having just one nested drone. Moving forward, we will equip it with AI capability. We're the first port in Malaysia to employ the nested drone. And as we progress forward, we're going to enhance it with more features. The second innovation that I want to share is the smart CCTV, again with AI capability. We're going to spend quite a bit of money there, but we feel that it's going to be investment worth having. The third one is the VTMS, the Vessel Tracking Management System. We're embarking on upgrading the VTMS, again equipped with AI capability. So all of this will enhance the the capability or the operability of our port. The last one that I want to share, this is like subsequent to our implementation of digital. We're going to go on automation. In fact, we are working with our partners now. We are having a strategic partner with our supplier as well as the vendor to look at how we can embark on automating our equipment.
So all these changes you've mentioned will definitely have an impact on your human capital. How is Bintulu Port preparing for the next generation of workers or human capital for the ports?
As what I said earlier on, talent management, human capability is key. Without them, we will not be able to do much. Recently, we have completed our so-called restructuring. We have not done it for almost 15 years. But to me, for us to be able to move forward, we need to do differently. We need to future-proof our organization. We need to be able to see what would be our focus area in future. We separate them into few categories. I call it three-prong strategy. The first prong is we must be good in the current port operation that we have. We must be super good. Second, we cannot just focus on the port operation. We have to look at beyond the port operation. And there are two things beyond port operation. Whether it is adjacency to the port business or we pivot totally away from what we have been doing for the past 40 years or so. And therefore, the structure must be right. I previously used to have like 20 people reporting directly to me. That's not sustainable. We need to have them demarcated in the proper division, focusing in the proper focus area. And example like port operation, that's one area that we need to work on. And how do we strategize moving forward? So therefore, we need to have the right structure. And once we have the right structure, it has to be filled with the right people. And not only with the right people, but at the right time. Because the people that we have today, they might not be fully equipped. It's our duty to equip them. How do we do that? We have to go on mobility, for example. They must be able to be exposed at other areas of the business so that they have a more enterprising view of the operation as well as the business to move forward. So therefore, they must fill up the position at the right time, but ultimately, of course, they must be compensated correctly. So we must have the right compensation so that we will attract the best in the business.
Okay, so essentially, with the change in mindset and the change of skill set, you must be constantly on the lookout for new talent. So how does Bintulu Port look out for the new generation of talent to fulfill these roles?
One of the things that we do is that we encourage young professional or young graduates to come in. We have a program called My Step. We allocate like 50 positions a year. And to me, this is a good opportunity for us to interview them. It's like a 1-year interview period. This is where you see whether a person is good or not as compared to interviewing them for like 3 hours at the most, right? So I really like that program, and we have taken in quite a lot of young talents, and some of them are super good, especially those in the digital area.
Okay, and I've heard that there's a lot of efforts done by Bintulu Port for inclusivity and inclusiveness basically in general for your organization. Can you explain a few of the efforts that you've done in Bintulu Port?
So we have embarked on a program called Sri Kandi, where we encourage women to be involved in operation. Operation is like port operation is a male-dominated operation, but we like to differ and we like to look at whether we can bring in women. And to our surprise, when we opened up the opportunity, we had a lot of application. We started off with employing 4 of them. Now they are working full-time as our crane operators, as our equipment drivers, and they love it. But we started off with just maybe driving trucks, and we're going to have more of them. We're targeting to have like 12 or 15 in the coming years, very soon. And hopefully one of them or two of them will be able to operate our ship loader, or so-called the key crane. So that is the big equipment that you see at the port, and it's mostly male-dominated.
How about in the management positions? How many women to men ratio? Do you have any inclusivity in that?
Wow, okay. There are 7 reporting to me. There are 9 reporting to me. 3 of them are women. And I have 4 CEOs, CEO position. In fact, in the pipeline now, we're going to look at some women to take up the CEO position. So recently we had 10 of our senior leaders graduated with CMLIT, chartered members of the Logistic Institute and Transport. 2 of them are ladies. So, and they were the first 2 ladies from Bintulu Port to actually graduate from that program. And for the coming one, we're targeting to send a lot more. And these are the pipeline of leaders that will step up to become the leadership team, I call them. Those direct reporting to me are called leadership team. And hopefully we'll have more women in the leadership team in the coming years.
What can we learn from Bintulu Port charting its new horizon? The leadership is clear on its focus areas, transforming the corporate culture and empowering people to drive innovations. So, stay on board with Decimal Point.